Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Neil's Life Hacks. And today in this video we'll get the basic understanding of what cloud computing is and how it works internally. Let's get started. Microsoft Azure describes cloud computing as the delivery of computing services over the internet by using a pay-as-you-go pricing model. You typically pay only for the cloud services that you use. This definition might seem confusing at this point. So let's take a step back. In the early days of the web, anyone or any company that wanted to build a web application had to own the physical hardware or servers required to host that application, which is a cumbersome, expensive, and a time-taking endeavor. All resources had to be deployed in-house and within the company's IT infrastructure. The company is responsible for maintaining the hardware and all its related processes. So now, with this on-premise architecture, the company is responsible for buying all the servers. Keep in mind that servers are a depreciating asset. The company is also responsible for setting the servers up, like installing the OS and doing all the networking. Setting up servers alone can be a costly operation. It can take anywhere from 2 to 6 months to get all the setup done. The company is also responsible for doing the patch upgrades over time. Hence, the company needs to hire the folks who are experienced in this domain. Again, this can prove to be pretty costly over time. At this exact point, when we are burdened with the issues of on-premise architecture, cloud computing comes to our rescue. Currently, there are 3 giant cloud providers: Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, and Amazon Web Services. When you hear that a service is running in the cloud, does it mean it's happening in thin air? Absolutely not. It definitely doesn't mean that. There has to be some server in the background which is actually doing the job. So what actually happens is, there are physical servers in data centers across the globe where your application is running. The only difference being you are not responsible for buying and maintaining those servers. Think of it as a way to rent compute power and storage from someone else's data center. You can treat cloud resources like you would treat the resources in your own data center. When you're done using them, you give them back. You're only billed for what you use. The cloud provider, say Microsoft Azure, takes care of maintaining the underlying infrastructure for you. Cloud servers are located in data centers all over the world. This map shows the location of Azure data centers across the globe. By using cloud computing, users and companies don't have to manage physical servers anymore. You can reap the benefit of Azure doing all the server maintenance and scaling while you just focus on building your application. The cloud enables users to access the same files and applications from almost any device because the computing and storage takes place on servers in data centers instead of locally on the user's device. It is not dependent on a particular device anymore. So even if your phone stops working one fine day, you are still able to access your Google Photos or Gmail from another device by just logging in. There is also data replication that is happening in the data centers for higher availability of your data. Now let's get into the details of how cloud computing works internally. How Azure or AWS is making life so easy for developers across the globe. Cloud computing is currently even possible because of a technology called virtualization. Virtualization allows for the creation of a simulated, digital-only virtual computer that behaves as if it's a physical computer with its own hardware. The term for such a computer is virtual machine. Virtual machines on the same host machine are sandboxed from one another, so they don't interact with each other at all, and the files and applications from one virtual machine aren't visible to the other virtual machine, even though they're on the same physical machine. Think of virtualization as breaking down a physical server into n number of virtual machines. Now these VMs or virtual machines behave as if it's a physical computer with its own hardware. You as a user won't even know the difference between a physical server and a VM while working on it. Virtualization removes the tight coupling between the computer's hardware and its operating system using an abstraction layer called the hypervisor. The hypervisor emulates the functions of real computer. It can run multiple VMs at the same time and also optimize the capacity of the abstracted hardware. Now, any cloud provider, say Azure, takes this virtualization technique and repeats it on a massive scale in Microsoft data centers throughout the world. Here are some key features of virtual machines. First is isolation. VMs on the same physical host are sandboxed from one another, so they don't interact with each other at all. Then there is no sharing between VMs. Files and application on one VM aren't visible to other VMs on the same physical host. Next, each VM can run any compatible OS such as Windows or Linux. Now, to reiterate, cloud is the delivery of computing services over the internet. These services include servers, storage, databases, networking, software analytics, and intelligence. Hence, it helps to lower your operating costs, frees you from managing all the infrastructures, and helps to scale up or down based on the business needs. Hope you folks now understand what the industry means by the term cloud computing and start admiring its brilliance. Thanks for watching. Feel free to suggest what kind of video on cloud computing you want next.